Okay, so this video came across my feed, and I'm like, I'm definitely gonna give my 2 cents on this issue. And it's about Apu. I can't pronounce his last name, from The Simpsons. So growing up, watched The Simpsons like religiously every day. They would show The Simpsons like twice a day, right after school, around 5 o'clock, and then around 10 o'clock. And I was dedicated. I'm watching every freaking episode. Huge fan. I think I stopped watching really around 2000 and maybe 6 or 7. It just kind of fell off. It wasn't as funny as it used to be, and South Park just became funnier than The Simpsons, to the point where I was more of a would watch South Park pretty much more religiously until I joined the army, and then I just stopped watching TV all in general. But I've heard they took Apu away from the show because of the stereotype of that he's portraying a negative stereotype. And I actually kind of agree that yes, he is portraying a stereotype, and that they shouldn't have removed him, but have him like still have him on the show, but not as a Quickie Mart owner, maybe something more less stereotypical. And the reason I say something like that is because I notice when certain like certain people, like my people of my culture, like Mexican Americans, when we get portrayed in media, it's always it's stereotypical in several shows. Like they play gangbangers or I don't know, like low entry jobs, and they speak with a certain vernacular, and it kind of irritates me. Like, oh man, how come you can't put the lawyer as Mexican American, or the lead character as being Hispanic? It's always certain roles, and almost like it can't I don't know, like they don't want to put us in a different role because it's not believable or something. And that's one problem I have with Hollywood when they do stuff like that. And I'll give you a better example. Like another show I used to watch was on Fox. It was called The X-Files. And in that show, they had two main actors, was Fox Mulder and Scully. Scully was a female FBI agent who was also a doctor, and I've heard that a lot of women saw the X-Files and became doctors, or joined the medical field because of Scully, of her portrayal in there, kind of like maybe I could do something like that. It became like an inspiration, and that's really where I'm going with this. Is like it's just, you might not think about it. Like I thought about it. Like if I were to see more Mexican Americans in certain roles, it's like almost like maybe I could be a lawyer, or a hedge fund manager, or who knows, and instead of always being portrayed as, again, typical, what you typically see in media. So let me play this, and I'll give you a little bit more.
Thing that you find over time is that people understand you. Like they'll watch your podcast with
Yes.
Andrew, and they've seen you guys for hundreds of hours.
Yes.
They know you.
Right.
So like when you're talking, if you say something, if you misstep, or if you say something that doesn't turn out to be that funny, they know what you're trying to do. They know you're not a vicious person. You're just trying to be funny.
And you're never going to be perfect. This is the biggest opportunity in my life. I'm going to walk out here being like, I wish I said that one thing differently.
Of course.
Yeah.
Did you take any like you have this defense of Apu, which is a fucking hilarious bit.
Thank you
Very
so
funny.
much, man. Thank you.
It's so dead on
I
too.
appreciate
It's like
it.
Why is that offensive? Well, why is that guy offensive? But
Yeah.
does anybody give you a hard time about that?
I'm getting some comments.
Yeah.
And what I want to delineate, I think is the word, like differentiate.
Delineate, yeah.
Delineate, thank you. I'm not as smart as I should be. But what I want to differentiate is the difference between your hurt feelings and being oppressed. Your hurt feelings are valid. And if kids made fun of me for it, that's valid, that hurt. I can go talk to a therapist, but you're not fucking oppressed. And that's what I thought canceling Apu was. It was, we think we're oppressed and we're not at all with that shit.
Well, there's a lot of things going on, right? Like, first of all, there's a white guy doing the voice.
Yeah.
What's that dude's name?
Henry Azaria, the fucking
Hank
goat
Azaria,
dude.
right. Yeah,
That's my
yeah.
guy, bruh.
He was on, what else was he on?
Oh, he's done accent. He's in everything.
Been a bunch of
He did
TV shows, right?
He does a hilarious French accent in Along Came Polly that's so over the top and so ridiculous, but it's so funny. He's a guy that just does accents well.
You're allowed to do French people, though.
Yeah,
Because it's like they don't have extra melanin.
They don't have extra melanin, and I see how.
It's also a freaking country. It's like doing an American accent. It's not a race.
It's worse,
Yeah.
but I also.
What?
This guy, the voice.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah.
that's so fucking funny.
Are you for scuba?
Yeah, yes, dude, it's so funny. Zoom in.
What is that movie in?
Along
Came
Came
Polly.
Polly. It's a movie most people hate, but I love. It's one of those romantic comedies. Jennifer Aniston, Ben Stiller.
But he was in, wasn't he in a sitcom?
He's in.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Probably. He's in everything. I just thought, I understand the context with which The Simpsons was created. It was a show that came out in the late 80s. I didn't know any Indian actors, much less voiceover actors, to do that voice. So he did it, and then he brought it to life. And I looked at The Simpsons, and I said, this is the most three-dimensional supporting character on that entire show. Everybody else is a static. Chief Wiggum is static. Moe is completely static. Barney's a drunk loser all the time. Apu is like...
Actually, not all the time. There was a couple of times where Barney, I think when he didn't drink, changed his life. But yeah, but for the most part, he was a drunk all the time.
Dimensional, and he evolves more than every character on that show, including The Simpsons. He gets married, he loses a business, gains a business, has kids, becomes a father. So, like, I love that story. That's a beautiful story. He's the American dream on that show.
Have they completely removed him from the show?
He's gone from the show. And I think it's fucked because, dude, Apu, if it was voiced by a brown person, Apu is so many of our parents, and I don't mean that I mean that in the most respectful way. Like, I used to always hear, back in the heyday, people would say The Simpsons represents every level of society. That's why the politician is a sleazebag and the billionaire is a corrupt fuck. And Apu, I really thought, whether they meant to or not, represented the American dream. He came to this country in search of a better life. He worked hard. He was mostly honorable, and he built a fucking life. And that is our parents. And we should all be so proud of our parents. And it sucks that a white guy was doing the voice, but at the time, I don't think they had an option. He's doing 12 voices. They just threw him one extra.
Right.
Yeah, and also like with the voice thing. I mean, you have a woman doing Bart's voice. You know, it's a thing. You know, it's like, hey, we only have so many voice actors, and they're gonna do fucking 20 different characters.
I didn't have a budget, and then he made it something. So I would say some of the jokes were a little hacky. You can evolve those, but you don't get rid of the guy completely. It was an overcorrection.
See, that's what I say. Yeah, don't get rid of him. Just don't be as stereotypical. Or there is a counter argument that they can be stereotypical because they stereotype everybody. Like the mayor is supposed to be like a Kennedy, the way he's a womanizer and everything. The Italians are supposed to be mobbed up, you know. Wiggum, the police officer, a fat pig. It's just think about it this way though. Like if they had some more negative stereotypes, because I don't know, like let's say they had some groundskeeper, instead of groundskeeper Willie being Scottish, let's say he was Mexican or something, and they really like, I don't know, just put some negative stereotypes on him. They had the Bumblebee guy, kind of, I don't know, he was like, I guess, I don't know, but he was kind of successful. He had his own TV show. But yeah, so I don't really have hate towards The Simpsons, even if they do have negative stereotypes, just because they have negative stereotypes on everybody. That's the whole show. Like even the nerd is like a super nerd, you know. Okay, positive stereotype. Dr. Hubert. You know, that's a positive. You have a black person and a prestigious job. You know, that's what I mean. It's like, how come you can't have like Apu as a, or not Apu, like an Indian character as a doctor, or you know, even if it is a stereotypical job, like an IT person, but you know, kind of different. Maybe more American also, or maybe they could have continued with one. I don't know. Yeah, but that's, like I said, one thing that has always hurt me as that, not just Hollywood, the media, is how they hire people for certain roles and portray them in like I said, in so many shows that I've seen, and it's not just even about race. It's also about the lead roles in almost any movie or TV show is usually like people with an unattainable, unrealistic looks. Like, it's always like some chiseled, jacked dude. Like, let's say like a superhero movie. Like, he's always gonna be super chiseled, jacked, and that dude lives a normal life. Like, he's drinking beer, he's eating fast food or whatnot, but he's jacked. And I'm like, that's not realistically, you know, unless you're taking steroids or something. That's not that doesn't happen. You know, you're not a beer drinker going out, you know, living a normal life and look at just absolutely shredded, like with like less than 10% body fat. Or they'll have like a typical, you know, 90 pound to 100 pound, you know, blonde with a whole lot of plastic surgery, and like, I don't know, just have her as the lead role. Like, these people are not average, and I get it. It's Hollywood. That's why you have celebrities. But my thing is, when they try to portray them to be average, it's like, better example, when they have high school people play high school kids and they're like in their 20s. You know, it's like, yeah, this dude's playing a jock and this chick's playing, I don't know, a cheerleader, and they're both in their 20s. It's like it sets unrealistic expectations, you know, as an average person, and it kind of just makes you feel bad, you know. And the same thing with race, you know, when you don't see somebody of your race in any position or gender, in any position of like prestige, you just feel like my gender or my race isn't able to do that, because it's always going to be, you know, like in a business movie, it's always going to be a you know, white people, and I get it, like if it's a documentary or something, but what about the extras? You know, does everybody have to be like a have to be like I don't know, like I notice this, like I pay attention every time I watch a movie. I'm like, how many Hispanics are in this movie? And most of the time there ain't no Hispanics, at least visually, like by that I know that they're Hispanic, or by their skin color. Like, it's always like, I don't know, super white skin, and not that white people can't be Hispanic, because there's obviously Hispanic is not a color, it's an ethnicity, and it's there's white Hispanics, black Hispanics, Hispanics of all, you know, shapes and sizes, but more of the traditional Hispanics, the majority of Hispanics are brown or brownish, and I don't see them portrayed in media, and when I do, they're not doing anything. They're in the level of prestige. They're always doing something demeaning or just a negative stereotype, and that's why I see with this thing with Apu, he's doing something stereotypical, and I could see that being offensive to a lot of Indians. And I do remember as a kid, we used to make fun of kids and call them Apu. So I'm pretty sure a lot of Indians, especially in the early 2000s and late 90s, probably got bullied because of this. And I can see why they would remove it. But again, I would think it would be better if they just kept him, but gave him like a different career field or something. Okay, let me know your thoughts.